There are nights when I wake up to the absolute silence of the house. No more sounds of my sons laughing and playing downstairs. No more giggles from my twin daughters. No more of my husband humming a tune in the kitchen. I live alone in what used to be our warm home, and every corner, every chair now whispers of something I can never undo. We used to be the kind of family others admired. My husband and I were each other's first love, high school sweethearts. He was the first man to ever hold my hand, the first who made me believe that somewhere out there really was a man who wanted to love, cherish, and walk through life with me. We got married right after graduating from college. He was a fresh-faced financial officer just starting out, and I worked as a junior accountant at a small company. Life wasn't easy, a cramped rented apartment, barely enough money to get by, but never once did I feel short on love. He always made me feel important. On days I came home exhausted from work, he would get home early, cook dinner, do the laundry, and then pull me into a tight hug, whispering, "You don't have to do anything anymore. Just be here, so I can take care of you." We had 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls, and each of them was the purest reflection of our love. When I gave birth to our twin daughters, he cried like a child in the delivery room, kissed my forehead, and choked through tears. Thank you. Thank you for giving me a family more beautiful than I ever dreamed. He never once made me feel lonely, not for a second. No matter how busy he was with work, he always made time for the family. He helped the kids with their homework, took them to the park on weekends, bought me flowers for every occasion, sometimes for no reason at all. And me? I loved him, deeply and passionately. But over the years, that love stopped burning like fire. It dimmed, softened, like an oil lamp burning steadily in the corner of my heart. I thought that was enough. I thought that was okay. And then, I forgot it needed to be nurtured. After nearly 20 years together, I started feeling tired. Not of him, but of myself. I had gained weight from pregnancies. My face had dulled, my belly sagged, my chest flattened. And when I looked in the mirror, I saw a woman I no longer recognized. Part of me grew insecure, and another part just bored. I still loved my husband, but I no longer wanted to be close. Even when he complimented me, even when he touched me with those same loving eyes, I turned away. I didn't know why. Maybe I hated my body. Maybe I felt like I was past my prime. Or worse, maybe I believed that love this secure didn't need to be protected anymore. When I turned 39, I decided it was time for a change. I started going to the gym, doing yoga, eating clean. I dropped from 82 kilograms to 61 kilograms. And suddenly I felt like I was alive again, full of energy, more confident. And I started craving attention. My husband was still the same man, loving, caring, but familiar. Meanwhile, I felt like I was being reborn. And right at that moment, someone new entered my life, and everything began to spiral out of control. Life, after my physical transformation, became strangely different. People at work started noticing me. Female coworkers complimented me. Male colleagues gave me those curious, sometimes flirtatious glances. I, once known as the chubby mom of 4, suddenly became the center of attention. And I didn't know how to resist the thrill of it. Yes, I had a husband, but the compliments from others gave me a different kind of high. It was new. It reminded me I was still a woman. Not just a wife, not just a mother. Then he showed up. The new manager in our department. A few years younger than me, attractive, charming. At first, I didn't pay him any mind, but he noticed me immediately. That look in his eyes, I knew it too well. I'd seen it in my husband's eyes during our early years, a look of admiration, desire, completely unfiltered. He started with polite small talk, then gradually shifted to open compliments. "You've got serious charm. Not many women can look this good and carry themselves like this after 4 kids." I smiled awkwardly. I'm married, and my husband loved me even before I slimmed down." "Then he's the luckiest man on earth," he replied, eyes never leaving mine. That should have been the end of it. I should have drawn the line, been firm, and returned to the reality. To the man who waited for me every evening, who washed the dishes beside me, who kissed my forehead gently every single night. But I didn't stop. I began talking about my husband during casual chats, but not in the good way. I told him we weren't intimate anymore, that I felt bored, that I no longer felt like a woman in his eyes. It was a lie. I said those things not because they were true, but because I needed a justification for my growing feelings I knew were wrong. I began to convince myself this man offered something I lacked. Desire, admiration, the thrill of being wanted again. I called it a foolish emotional connection, but in truth, it was a silent betrayal. I didn't sleep with him right away, but I lied to my husband. I smiled at texts. I waited for compliments from a man who wasn't mine. I thought of him, even when lying next to my husband. One afternoon, I asked him to meet me at a cafe near the office. I planned to end it. To say, "I'm married. I can't do this." But before I could say a word, he kissed me, and everything collapsed. I didn't push him away. Instead, I closed my eyes. And when I opened them again, I knew I had crossed a line I could never uncross. After that kiss, it was like I became addicted. The feeling of being desired again, of being chosen, blinded me. We began meeting secretly after work, in hotels, in cars, wherever we could find privacy. Me, the woman who once despised cheaters, had now become the liar, the betrayer, the selfish one. My husband didn't know, but he felt something had changed. I wasn't gentle anymore. I was irritable, cold. I used exhaustion as an excuse to avoid intimacy. The look in his eyes, once full of warmth, and began to show hurt, confusion. One night, he gently cupped my cheek and looked into my eyes. "You're not you anymore. I don't know what's going on, but if you want, we can talk. I don't want to lose you." I shook my head, cold and distant. "There's nothing wrong with me. You're just overthinking things." I pushed him away. The one man who never once gave up on me. I don't know what had twisted inside of me. Maybe it was pride, the thrill of being desired again. Maybe it was insecurity that had piled up for years, now seeking release in the worst way. It got worse. I started treating him worse than a stranger. I criticized how he ate, snapped at him when he tried to talk. And once, when he leaned in to kiss me, I turned away. Because in that moment, I was thinking about another man. I told myself it was just a phase, that it would pass. But then I got a message from my younger brother. He said my husband had confided in him. "He thinks you don't love him anymore," he wrote. "He's heartbroken. He said he can't live forever with someone who doesn't want him." That message felt like a slap in the face. I panicked. I didn't want a divorce. I didn't want to lose my family. I just wanted a taste of something different. And now that taste was devouring my entire life. So I ended the affair. I quit my job. I came home, ready to rebuild, to love my husband again. But then, he showed up, the man I had tried to cut ties with. Unannounced. He brought over some personal items I'd left at the office. And then, he asked for one last time. I refused. He begged. I gave in. We went into the living room. We didn't lock the door. And right in the middle of it, I heard the door slam. I turned my head, and there he was. My husband. His eyes were bloodshot, lips trembling. This man, always so calm, so strong, looked shattered. And in that moment, I knew. I had just killed the heart of the only man who ever truly loved me. I don't remember the exact time of day, just the sunlight streaming through the window, landing on my bare skin. the scent of sweat and guilt still hanging in the air. I hadn't even caught my breath from that final moment of weakness when the door burst open. He stood there. I'll never forget the look in his eyes. Not rage, not hatred, just unimaginable pain. His hands clenched, his whole body shaking, his lips pressed so tightly they bled. I realized, in that very moment, his heart had died. My lover scrambled, trying to pull on his clothes. I sat up, trying to cover myself, trying to speak, to apologize, to explain, to beg. But nothing came out. My throat tightened. "If you know what's good for you, step back," my lover said arrogantly. That was the spark. My husband lunged. I screamed, "No!" Punches, bones cracking, furniture crashing, blood splattered across the wall, his face demolished within seconds. I jumped in, trying to pull my husband off him. But in his blind rage, he threw me back and I hit the floor hard. Everything turned blurry. I heard grunts, cries, and then his voice. Calling 911, he didn't run, didn't try to justify himself. He sat in the middle of the room, hands behind his head like a criminal, or like a man who had just lost everything. I stood in the hospital wearing an old sweatshirt, face bruised, heart about to explode. My father didn't say a word. He just shook his head. My younger brother yelled, spitting every word, "You killed him." Do you even realize that? My mother tried to hold me, but even her eyes were full of disappointment. My in-laws didn't hold back. My mother-in-law slapped me in the face in the hallway. My husband's sisters screamed at me, cursed me, threatened to take my kids away. And me? I didn't fight back. I stood there like an empty shell. And my children? My eldest looked at me like I was a stranger. The younger ones turned away, covering their ears, silently crying. No one hugged me. No one called me mom. No one looked at me like I was part of this family anymore. The trial, held months later, was a never-ending nightmare. My husband was charged with third-degree aggravated assault. My affair partner was hospitalized for over 2 months, undergoing facial reconstruction surgery. His jaw was shattered, his lower teeth lost. He couldn't speak. On the witness stand, I was forced to recount every detail. How long the affair lasted, how many times we met, where it happened, who initiated it. Every answer was a dagger to the heart of the man who had once loved me completely. My father, a stern, quiet man, walked out halfway through the trial. He couldn't bear to hear the details of my betrayal. When it was my husband's turn to testify, I learned the truth, that the day he came home early, he was planning to surprise me with lunch and a weekend getaway in the Catskills, the place where we shared our first kiss on a college trip. He'd even bought me a small bracelet engraved with the words, "Still you after all these years." But instead of giving it to me, he walked in and found me beneath another man. In court, they played the recording of his 911 call. I think I killed someone. My love, my wife, she cheated on me. Please save him. I don't know what I've done. The courtroom went silent. All I could do was cover my face and cry. I caused this. I turned that man into a convict. I destroyed our family. I broke our children. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison. When the verdict was read, our daughter screamed, "No, please don't take our daddy." That sound haunts me to this day. When the court adjourned, my children didn't leave with me. They ran into their grandmother's arms. And I stood there, surrounded by angry stares, cruel whispers, like a ghost who had just lost everything. After the trial, something inside me died. I returned to the house I once called home. But now it was just empty walls, 4 dining chairs, and only one person sitting. Cold dinners, no one across the table, no laughter, no kids, not even the comforting bickering of a busy family. I lived in a dark, haunting silence. Alone, no husband, no children, no family. And worst of all, no dignity left. I was fired from my job. My reputation was dragged through the mud. People whispered behind my back. Former colleagues cut ties. Every job application was ignored. One company even invited me for an interview. Then went silent the moment they realized who I was, the cheating wife whose husband went to jail. Eventually, I had no choice but to take seasonal retail work and part-time tax filing jobs during the busy season. From a well-paid accounting manager, I became the tired-looking woman scanning barcodes at the grocery store. The pay was low, the hours long, but I didn't complain. I told myself, this is my punishment, and I deserve every bit of it. And my children, they hated me. Clearly, coldly, completely. My oldest moved out to live with his grandparents. He didn't say a word, didn't look back, didn't call me mom again. My second son locked himself in his room, silent as a shadow. The twins, once my sweet little girl, started acting out, skipping school, sneaking out, talking back. Whenever I tried to reach out to them, they turned away. I've begged them. I've screamed and cried for their forgiveness. I even knelt down in the middle of the living room, sobbing through a dinner no one touched. But all I got in return was cold silence, as if I didn't exist. I wrote letters to my husband. The first one, no reply. The second, returned, unopened. Hundreds followed, handwritten in trembling lines soaked in tears. All came back to me untouched. Each envelope, a slap in the face. I tried visiting him in prison. They denied my request. He had taken me off the approved list. I called my younger brother, who worked at the facility. I begged him to pass along a message. He answered only once. "You're already dead to us." 3 months later, I got a call. My husband had been stabbed in prison after resisting a sexual assault attempt. He fought back and was stabbed in the stomach. I rushed to the prison, begged to see him, only to be told. He still refused to see me. My mother cried and tried to comfort me. My father? Silent. He wouldn't even look at me. My siblings avoided me like a contagious disease. Old friends vanished. And me? I tormented myself daily, asking over and over, how could a wife destroy her husband's entire life? Just for a fleeting, selfish thrill. I started seeing a therapist. I told her I had lost myself. That I betrayed the only man who ever truly loved me. That I destroyed everything I had once called happiness. She looked at me, then said gently, "You didn't just betray your husband. You betrayed yourself. You let the thrill of the new distract you, and you forgot. Real love isn't in the heart that races fast, but in the hand that still holds yours when your hair turns gray." I cried. I missed him. With a madness that consumed me. I missed the way he'd stroke my head when I was sad, the way he'd bring home a little cake when it rained, the way he looked at me, even when I wore an old wrinkled nightgown, like I was the most beautiful woman on earth. But it was too late. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. The kids remained distant. I lived like a ghost in my own home. I still prepared birthday parties for each of them, cooked their favorite meals, ordered cakes, but none of them sat down to eat with me. They blew out the candles, took pictures, sent them to their grandparents, then disappeared back into their rooms. I ate my portion alone in the kitchen, tears falling silently into my bowl of rice. Then one day, in May of that year, they started smiling again. They came home from school with bright faces. They ate dinner without scowling. I thought, maybe they had forgiven me. I thought, maybe they're finally softening. So I asked, "I'm preparing a birthday party for the girls. Should I make mousse cake like last year?" The twins turned to me slowly. "Mom, we're having our birthday party at Uncle's house. Dad is throwing it for us, and we don't want you to come." I froze. Their father had been released. He was granted early release in April for good behavior. No one told me. No one gave me a chance to meet him, to apologize, to hope. I gathered all the letters I had written over the past 7 years, every word I had poured my soul into, and brought them to my brother's house. I stood at the door. I called his name, and I saw him through the crack of the door, thinner, his hair touched with gray, but still him. The man who once called me the only woman he'd ever love. I cried. I ran toward him, trying to hug him, but he didn't move. He handed me the stack of letters and said, "You forgot to take these back." That was it. Cold, final, cruel, but I knew I deserved it.
I never intended to say anything. Honestly, I tried to stay as far away from it all as I could. I changed schools, deleted my social media, cut ties with old friends. I didn't want anyone to know that I was the son of the woman who cheated on her husband and sent him to prison. But then, Mom posted that story online, and suddenly, all my friends started whispering. At first, I didn't believe it. But the more I read, the more I knew it was her. It was my family. I called her. She cried, like she always did. But this time, I didn't feel sorry for her. I only felt anger, a fury that had been asleep for years, now awakened like a beast provoked. I saw everything. I remember every detail from the final months before our family collapsed. My mom, once gentle and kind, turned cold, distant. She spoke to my dad like he was beneath her. She snapped at the smallest things. She looked at him with a disgust I'd never seen before. And my dad, he kept trying. He bought her flowers. He cooked meals. He planned weekend trips for the whole family. He even started working out again, trying to get back in shape. Just like Mom had once joked, he did everything to hold on to a woman who had already let go a long time ago. And Mom, she faked it, smiled in front of relatives, but behind closed doors, she texted, called, snuck out. I knew. I heard her whispering in the bathroom. I saw her dressing up, putting on perfume, telling us she was just running to the store. I knew. But I stayed silent because I was scared. Because I didn't want to believe my own mother could betray the best man I'd ever known. Then the day came. I wasn't home, but I heard the 911 recording during the trial. My dad's voice, trembling, broken, and in his breath, I heard an entire life fall apart. This man, proud, strong, sat in a pool of blood, calling the police with the voice of a lost child. Did you know, Mom? During the trial, I never once looked at you, because if I did, I wouldn't have been able to hold back my rage. I held my youngest sister as she collapsed in the courtroom, unable to bear the sight of our dad being led away in handcuffs. When Dad went to prison, our whole family shattered. I had to become an adult at 18, juggling college, part-time jobs, caring for my siblings, sending money back home. And you just cried. You apologized, again and again, as if sorry could undo what you did. You wrote letters to Dad, hundreds. But did you know? Every time he received one, he threw it into the prison incinerator. He didn't read a single word, because in his eyes, you died that day. You say you want to make things right. You want us to forgive you. But did you ever really think about how we felt? Did you ever stop to ask, were you tired, son, when you had to be the father in Dad's place? Were you okay going to school while everyone stared at you like you were diseased? Did it hurt when your own mother destroyed your future with her selfishness? When Dad was released, I brought him to live with our uncle. He was frail, thin, but his eyes still carried strength. I asked him, "Dad, do you hate her?" He said, "What's the point? I just want peace, so my children can be happy. You showed up. You cried." But he didn't say a word. He just looked at you and said, "You're just the mother of my children. Nothing more. And I thought you'd break down. But you didn't. You stood there, still begging, still hoping. And that's when I realized you didn't want redemption. You just wanted forgiveness to ease your guilt. You didn't think of us. You only thought of yourself. Now you're posting online again, sharing your sob story, crying for sympathy from strangers. But Mom, we're not strangers. We are the children you damaged for life with your selfishness. And if you truly want to make things right, then stop writing, stop talking, stop apologizing. Just live with your regret, because that's the only thing you can do now without hurting us further.
I used to be a wife, a mother, a woman loved more than she ever thought she deserved. But I lost it all. Because of one moment of weakness. I once had a family as beautiful as a dream, and I was the one who turned it into a nightmare. If I could go back, I'd choose my husband's embrace over the gaze of a stranger. I'd choose the sound of my children's laughter over the heavy breathing in a room built on lies. But life doesn't let anyone go back. Now, every day I live is another day with a wound that will never heal. And what hurts most is not the loneliness. It's the hollow look in my children's eyes. The same children I abandoned when they needed their mother the most. Some stories don't have a perfect ending, only the pain left behind for those who had to live through them. Thank you for listening to her side of the story, where we share tales that feel like fiction, but come straight from real life. If you've ever loved, ever been betrayed, ever walked through wounds you thought would never heal, you're not alone. Here, we listen, and we tell. So that maybe, somewhere in these bitter stories, we can all find a way back to ourselves.